Zhang Bingbing number 4. I was robbed too. 4 or 5 people held sticks and wanted the things in my hand. I put down the things and ran away. Next time if anyone goes out, please call me. The express bus is too late in the morning. I usually ride a bicycle at night. Wang Xueme number 2. Next time I call you, our family will also ride bicycles. I don't know when this day will end. Since the frozen food in the refrigerator has been eaten up, the dried mushrooms I bought before are gone, and the snacks are gone. Every day I can only eat white rice or the corn porridge distributed before. Hope the dark day will end soon, bless. Fat girl number 25, tighten your belt and wait for the artificial sun, everything will be fine. But who has the phone number of the scalper? I also want to buy something, I really can't stand it. Jingshu's memory was evoked. At this time in the previous life, Jing's mother was still working hard and working overtime. Because Yu Kai and I was promoted to deputy director, her previous position was vacant. Jing's mother and Tianqin competed for the position, but failed. Not long after, she was completely depressed and suffered from heatstroke. In the end, she didn't even enter the system. And she was still confused. Every day, she and Jing's father took a steel pipe to the supermarket to queue up to buy food. They were afraid that their own food would run out, and they were afraid that they would be robbed. They were the same as them, hoping that the dark day would end soon, hoping that someone would save them, and put all their hopes on other places. Jingshu finally realized that people still have to rely on themselves. Just like the time, after knowing that everyone had finished eating the food in the refrigerator, the power supply time was shortened again, changed to from 1730 to 1930. Everyone needs to complete all the needs for home appliances within these 2 hours. Charge power banks, charge mobile phones, charge flashlights, cook a day's worth of rice in a rice cooker, boil water, turn on the lights for at least an hour, according to news reminders. People need to replenish light every day, and the candles have run out, and watch the news broadcast to get the latest news. Of course, some local tyrants are excluded, such as the owners of UBC solar power generation. It is said that the price of this unit has risen to millions, and only the truly wealthy can get it, and the owners are less than 0.03%. Some powerful people should also be excluded. Their electricity is generally continuous. The rules are always the means of the upper class and are applicable everywhere. But then again, those who have really made enough contributions have the right to enjoy special treatment. For example, being able to lead the last hundreds of millions of people to survive in the most difficult times, although 1/3 of the people were killed because of the decision. As a survivor, Jingshu feels that being able to allow 2/3 of the people to survive in that environment is really amazing. Several foreign countries have been destroyed. A popular saying after the apocalypse, if you have money, you can go to UBC, you have the right to have uninterrupted electricity, and if you don't have anything, you rely on the public. If you have money, you can eat dry goods. You have the right to eat vegetables, you have everything but don't eat insects. If you have money, you can drink purified water, you have the right to drink mineral water, and if you don't have anything, you drink rainwater. So, what's the point of having everything like Jingshu? Just thinking about it seems to be very satisfying. As for turning on the air conditioner, it is no longer necessary because the temperature began to drop rapidly at 1730. For months after the apocalypse, one of the guarantees for people to survive in high temperatures is to have sufficient water. But now the water truck supply has also changed the rules. It delivers water once a day, and each person only has 1.5 liters. In this high temperature and sweating, 1.5 liters is not enough. It is best for adults to maintain a daily intake of 2 L. The most difficult to detect is the boiling frog-like change. From the first month of the apocalypse, each person received 1 bucket of water, which was reduced to 2 buckets per family and then to 1 bucket per family. After 3 months, it has become 1.5 liters per person today. Although the people find it difficult to accept, they dare not say anything when they see the armed police with shields and guns. Is it necessary to send armed police to deliver water? In other words, they only dared to complain from afar. The armed escort of water was enough to show how short of water the whole country was now. Freshwater lakes turned green and smelly due to the decay of biological corpses. The soil and high temperature made the rivers dry. There was no time to make any repairs, but it still didn't rain. The scientists of the Science Channel agreed this time. The high temperature will definitely cause the sea level to rise. The result of the rising sea level will be floods and heavy rains. 1/3 of the world will be submerged, and the island countries will even be destroyed. It will rain sooner or later. It is even expected that many places will have floods. Be sure to prepare in advance. Otherwise, the consequences will be disastrous. The scientists said that everyone was very nervous in the first month. But after 4 months, they were already numb. Let it rain quickly. Floods are also good. It's better than this heat and dryness. But it still didn't rain, and there was no flood. The Japanese island country has been preparing for being submerged for 3 months, but there is still no drop of water. Maybe only Jingshu knew that when everyone relaxed their vigilance, all these prophecies came true in the second year of the apocalypse. It was not that it would not be launched, but that it was just accumulating strength to be launched. It would come out suddenly and flood several countries, flooding 1/3 of China. It was really a year of countless casualties. Jingshu shook her head. With the things that happened every day, her distant memory would always be drawn out again. After eating 10 scallion egg pancakes, 2 bowls of double-skim milk, and a large pot of tomato and egg dumpling soup, Jingshu put on a helmet, took a pure iron rod, and went to send Jingma to work. Yes, it is a real iron rod. Some people may not understand the weight of iron. Jingshu will explain that 1 cubic meter of iron weighs 7.8 tons, and this 1 meter long solid iron rod weighs 39 kilograms. Jingshu can now easily lift it up and swing it back and forth dozens of times without any problem. If someone dares to come over without a long eye, it is no problem to break his bones. It is guaranteed to be fatal with 1 blow. They also brought 2 boxes of soil from the villa. Jingma's competition was about to start, and Jingshu decided to cheat for her, at least to squeeze Yukani out. You kid, you have to go. It's so dangerous outside, why not stay at home? Jingma smeared some dirt on her face, and Jingshu followed suit. It was true that their skin was getting better and better after drinking the spiritual spring, while people who were not exposed to sunlight and had long-term malnutrition had sallow and dark skin. They were a little too prominent. After the end of the world, people who were not exposed to sunlight for a long time would lack more and more nutrients and become thinner and older. In the previous life, Jingma looked like a 70-year-old before she was 50, but in this life, she was as beautiful as a 30-year-old woman with a shiny face. Jingshu looked more and more like a girl, so Jingshu bought a lot of cosmetics and facial oils that seemed useless. Jingshu put the iron rod down with a clang. Look at my strength now. If anyone is blind, I will beat him up. My dad was called away by my uncle and there is no one to take you there. I am worried about you being alone, so I just want to go and see what's going on in your weird unit. After Jing's mother got promoted, she changed her workplace. Now she works at the Planting Research and Development Management Department, which is located in the original city center and the current villa center. The distance of only 14 kilometers is really much closer. But Jingshu still dared not drive too fast. Except for the city center where bulldozers clean up the soil every day, the soil in other places is piled up high, so she can only drive along the tracks left by the trucks. It is now 4:40 in the morning and the temperature is 3 degrees Celsius. Jingshu turned up the air conditioner temperature and listened to the 949 radio while driving. Because oil is no longer sold to the public, major logistics industries have basically stopped business. The price of energy vehicles continues to soar and is now known as a luxury car. The price of gasoline vehicles has fallen to the bottom. Major companies have stopped production and started to produce energy vehicles, but the lack of raw materials and other reasons have led to the current production being scarce. Jing's mother sat in the passenger seat and cracked the apricot kernels she had eaten, took out the almonds and put them in a small bag. This was her snack for work. I don't know how the apricot tree in our house can produce so many apricots. I can't finish them every day. Jingshu rolled her eyes. In order to let her mother eat her favorite apricots every day, she would always add some diluted spiritual spring water to serve her well. There is a saying, when you feel relaxed, it's just that someone is carrying the burden for you. This sentence is absolutely correct. In her previous life, she lived a relaxed life, and her parents carried the burden for her. In this life, it was her turn, but she would also learn from the lesson and resolutely not raise an ungrateful wolf that she shouldn't raise. I arrived at Jing's mother's workplace on time. There were iron railings and several security guards wearing bulletproof vests and holding electric batons at the gate. They were allowed to pass only after confirming their identities. Rows of constant temperature rooms that were built at a high price came into view. The lights were bright and busy figures could be seen through the windows. Just as I parked the car and got off, the government special bus also arrived, and the last batch of people who went to work got off. Yukai and I stumbled and was squeezed down with her messy hair. Half a year ago, she was still charming, smart, and capable, and her professional OL outfit was very eye-catching. Today, she was covered in dust, and her professional OL outfit was wrinkled by the crowd. She looked miserable. After tidying up her hair and clothes and preparing to go in, Yukai and I saw Su Longji and Jing Shu, and immediately showed her resentful eyes. She walked over and said arrogantly, "Find a time to handle the transfer procedures. I will return the house to you and return my money to me." Damn it, God knows that the house she bought thinking she got a great bargain has shrunk several times in less than half a year. The house worth 1.4 million yuan can't be sold for 300,000 yuan now. That bastard Lu Keyuan said it nicely at the time, the house in the city center will collapse unless the world ends, and it collapsed in the blink of an eye. Every time the house price dropped by $1, Yukai and I cursed Su Longji in her heart. How nice it would be if she had that money to buy an energy car. It's all Su Longji's fault. Otherwise, I would drive a car to work every day, and I wouldn't have to squeeze into the special bus every day. Yukai hated her to death. Su Longji pulled Jingshu, who was holding a box, and turned away. Jingshu turned back and said, "Congratulations, the house really collapsed. This is called the evildoers will be punished by heaven." Su Longji covered her mouth again and hurried into the room. Yukai snorted and said to her back, "You can hide on the first day, but not on the 5th day. Su Longji, you are doomed to lose the competition in the next few days. This time I will definitely step on you and make you unable to turn over again, so that I can teach you that in the political world, people without connections can only be clerks forever." Humph. Jingshu was pulled by Su Longji and ran into the research room, and she heard her mumbling, "Why do you care about her? We have taken such a big advantage, so don't say anything. Anyway, I don't want to live in that small house anymore after all the money has been spent. She can report to the leader as she likes," she said in a somewhat angry tone. R&D management is divided into several parts. The rows of newly built houses and the constant temperature rooms that provide electricity for at least 8 hours a day and guarantee a temperature for 16 hours are under the jurisdiction of the director. The 2 deputy directors are each in charge of a dark day research and planting institute. Research reports and results will be issued in a few days. Whoever is more capable will be promoted. When Jingshu arrived at the place, she knew why her own daughter was so arrogant. Yukai's research site has rows of sunproof shelves that illuminate the lettuce, spinach, etc. grown on the shelves 24 hours a day. It is equipped with more than a dozen researchers, a spacious venue, a supply of special potions, and all resources have been thrown at it. It is also equipped with various advanced instruments for observation and recording. There are even several professors who come to check the situation and give guidance every day. Yukane's daily task is to check the progress and encourage everyone to work hard to achieve mass production as soon as possible. Every day, she can take fresh vegetables home to taste. In contrast, Sulonji's research site is a temporary warehouse converted from a narrow one. There are only a few lonely lights illuminating the malnourished, wilted vegetables on the shelves. There are only 3 experienced farmers, and as for other equipment and instruments, forget it. The treatment is simply heaven and earth. No wonder Sulonji has been sighing these days when she goes back home. What can I do? Who told me that I grew them myself? They gave me this configuration. Yukane's uncle is a professor at the Research Institute, and he was assigned to her. I heard that a catalyst was used. No wonder Jingma was desperate. Facing such unfair treatment, you can't say where to complain, not to mention that Jingma, who really has no connections, can only silently be a stepping stone for others to step on. You sit down and rest first. I'll go and spread the soil. Sulonji spread the soil from the villa on the vegetables cultivated on the shelf. She couldn't figure it out. Why are the vegetables at home so vigorous, but the ones here are half dead? Until her daughter said it might be because of the soil, so today she brought some to try, which of course was mixed with the soil from the spiritual spring and the magic cube space. Because of the dark days, the main vegetables studied are those that do not require much sunlight, such as garlic, spinach, chrysanthemum, lettuce, mushrooms, etc. Most of the vegetables on the shelves are of this type. Sulonji started working with the 3 farmers, and this work was endless. Jingshu was so hungry that she simply found an empty step and ate charcoal-roasted cashews by herself. Suddenly, a pair of small eyes stared at her, which caught Jingshu off guard, and she stopped chewing immediately. "What are you eating?" The small eyes came closer and saw that it was a dirty, runny-nosed 5 or 6-year-old fat boy. Jingshu shook her head and did not dare to chew any more in the dim sky. The fat boy stood there and stared at Jingshu's cheeks patiently. Jingshu got up and walked in, and the fat boy followed pitifully. Although he did not speak, his smart little eyes expressed more than a dozen languages of wanting to eat. The little fat man in the end times is really rare. Jingshu was defeated. Based on the principle of not giving away things for free, Jingshu took out a cashew nut and said, "1 cashew nut for 1 question. What is your name?" The little fat man thought about it and wrote "new" on the ground with a stick. Jingshu had a black question mark on her face. "Nyo what? Is this deliberately testing who taught her Chinese?" The little fat man took a cashew nut consciously and continued, "Nu, yen, ben." Then he stretched out his hand, meaning to give another one. Jingshu gave another one and grabbed a handful from her pocket, chewing with her cheeks puffed up, and looked at the little fat man with big eyes. The little fat man ate half a half and looked at Jingshu eagerly after eating. The little fat boy's eyes suddenly turned. "My name is taken from Yo Ben Shan Hu, Ma Chia Shi Hai Long." Then he stretched out his hand and successfully got one. Jingshu. She felt that her IQ was hit. It means that the cows unite and rush straight to the tiger, and the horses unite and rush to the sea dragon. It mainly describes a kind of unstoppable momentum of thousands of horses galloping. After that, the little fat boy proudly stretched out his hand and asked for one. Jingshu. I felt that I was shown off again. This damn naughty child. In the next few minutes, the naughty child began to gossip about various things in his family, such as her mother's favorite strawberry. Her father's buttocks were tattooed with her mother's name. His father would make him kneel down for 3.8 kilograms if he couldn't satisfy his mother. His father's private money was hidden in the socket but was stolen by him, and so on. Jingshu, I really don't want to listen to your gossip. Nyo Ben. No, you want to. Jingshu burped, took out the last cashew and said, "So who is your dad?" The little fat boy took the cashew with his dirty paw and carefully put it in his pocket, pointing to the brightly lit constant temperature room, and said, "My dad is Nyomu. Everyone calls him director, but he won't be working here in a few days." I heard that he will be a department head. Jingshu. I always feel that today is not suitable for chatting. She seems to have heard some incredible gossip. In her previous life, she only knew that Director Zheng was promoted, and then he was promoted all the way, which was very awesome. He also brought Yukai Nyo with him. Director Nyo, who looked upright and rigorous, actually tattooed his wife's name on his butt. The little fat boy stared at Jingshu with tears in his eyes, then took out a Wong Wong milk candy and gave it to Jingshu. One candy for one question. What is your name? The good boy's teaching was not in vain, and he put it into practice now. This time it was finally Jingshu's turn. She excitedly wrote down her name like a child. She had thought that a 6-year-old child would know how many words, but she didn't expect the little fat boy to read it out loud, and even said, "It's from the verse Jingnu Chishu, waiting for me at the corner of the city." I just happened to have memorized this part. Jingshu took the candy and left. We are different. I only knew how to play in the mud at that time. She hated this clever kid. Not only did he cheat her out of more than 20 cashews, but he also used words to humiliate her. It was time for lunch at 10 o'clock. We turned on the air conditioner in the car, drank thick tremella and wolfberry soup, ate 2 apples, and each of us had 2 bowls of bibimbap, a soft-boiled egg, spicy cabbage, and steak. We simply dealt with the meal. This time, there were no more naughty kids peeping at us, and we were particularly happy. Sulonji worked overtime for a while. She had to do everything herself, unlike Yukani, who would point fingers and open her mouth, and someone would run errands for her. Jingshu said that Yukani's leadership attitude was correct, but now she had no foundation, so Jingma had to do it herself. Jingshu watched Yukani's scientific research from a distance. It was very busy, divided into many areas, and doing different experiments. It can be clearly seen that the areas of sparse, moderate, and numerous vegetables were well organized, but what's the use of this? In the end, isn't it a competition to see who grows more and tastes better? In this regard, if her Rubik's Cube space doesn't win, nothing else in the world can win. It was not until 12 o'clock in the morning that the mother and daughter returned home. There were no robbers on the road. Jingshu estimated that they were all waiting near the supermarket. When they arrived at the gate of the community, the security guard also professionally confirmed their identities and then let them go. After all, robberies have been quite chaotic recently. When they returned home, Jingnai had already fed the fish, milked the silkworms, and fed the pigs, cattle, and sheep on the first floor. Jingshu went to the narrow second floor to feed the chickens, ducks, and quails, and collected eggs by the way. She also took a few more eggs from the space and put them in the egg box. This resulted in the Jing family always feeling that they could not finish eating every day. There is still a big difference between the black pigs and sheep in the villa and the pigs and sheep in the space. After all, the animals in the space have a constant temperature. The animals live very comfortably without the environment of fluctuating temperatures. Moreover, the food is very good, and it is mixed with a small amount of spiritual spring water. The growth is several times larger than that of the villa. It will mature in 2 months. Jingshu has already planned to whom to give the black pigs and what value it can create. After that, Jingshu took the fat chicken to the back mountain to continue polishing the giant stone cone and practice throwing stones, archery, etc. After more than a month of practice, Jingshu can already throw 30 meters. Jingshu is very satisfied with this distance. It can be said that it is invincible in the medium and long distance. By the way, she also trained the fat chicken. Now Jingshu points to a place and shouts, "Hit him!" The nearly 40-pound fat chicken will fly over and peck and tear hard. The strength is so great that Jingshu feels that it is worth it. The spiritual spring number 1 has not been fed in vain. Someone died in the community again. Jingshu only then knew that Wang Dajiao's pregnant wife died because she ate vegetables sold by yellow cattle. In order to keep those vegetables fresh under high temperature, they were coated with wax and other chemicals. After the pregnant woman ate them, she had a miscarriage and heavy bleeding. She died when she was sent to the hospital. She called the police to arrest them, but they had already run away. When Dazhao found Wang Qiqi and asked him to find the person, he swore to kill their whole family. Wang Qiqi agreed without saying anything and said that he was partly responsible for this matter, and he would definitely take responsibility to the end. The group was so scared that no one dared to say anything. After all, a few days ago, Wang Dazhao showed off in the group that he had stockpiled a lot of baby products and spent a lot of money to buy baby milk powder. In the blink of an eye, he not only lost his child but also his mother. He lost the hope of the rest of his life. It can be said that he is alive and dead unless he can come out again. The incident of vegetable wax coating still made most people who wanted to buy vegetables from scalpers give up completely. After all, there is no water to wash vegetables now. If they eat dead people again, it will be more trouble than gain. Just when everyone unanimously decided to eat white rice honestly, the dark species, the corpse worms, finally successfully invaded the Earth after 4 months of evolution and transformation. It took them only 3 days from being silent to becoming famous. Carrion worms will become the nightmare of countless people in the next few years. In the previous life, they were one of the worms that Jingshu hated the most. At the same time, they became one of the food rations when she had to. Although red nematodes have no taste, at least they can be eaten and will not make you sick. Carrion worms are too bitter to swallow. Eating them will cause illness and diarrhea. No one wants to eat them unless they are starving to death. In the 5th year of Jingshu's previous life, she was almost starving to death. When she swallowed a bowl of carrion worms, green juice would spray out. It was bitter, full of hard residues, and had a strong and disgusting fishy smell, which was comparable to the world's stinkiest canned herring. But Jingshu, who was starving to death, heard from everyone's experience that carrion worms cannot be eaten by biting, but must be swallowed directly. She ate them for 2 consecutive days until rescue, but she was half dead every day. Jingshu swore from then on that she would never eat carrion worms again, even if she died. That year, even delicious ingredients such as maggots and red nematodes were frozen to death, and there were only many powerful creatures like carrion worms. Because carrion beetles are omnivorous species, their favorite food is rotting corpses. Wherever there are corpses of small creatures, there must be them. Eating them is almost like eating rotting corpses, and you will eat a stomach full of bacteria. Wang Tsuehua sent a voice message. This is really a punishment from God. A newly opened bag of rice has half a bag of black and green bugs. It's horrifying. As soon as the bag is opened, they crawl around. Some of them can fly and fly all over the house. Some crawl everywhere. What can I do? My rice. Wang Tsuehua's message quickly attracted many replies. Luoju number 9. There has been a layer of dead flying insects floating in the bucket these past few days. Today, when I looked again, the whole bucket was crawling with those dark green, densely packed, wriggling insects. I was so scared that I threw the bucket out. Phone number 3, crying, I haven't taken out the garbage for a few days since I was injured. I threw the maggots on the meat into the garbage bag before. Today, I found a whole bag of dark green maggots crawling out. Could it be that the maggots have evolved into dark green? But why have they become so much smaller? Luxury car dealer number 5, I was bitten. What should I do? When I woke up this morning, the whole bed was covered with these damn things, and my body was covered with red spots. Now it's starting to swell and hurt. I went to the hospital, and the stupid doctor said that my symptoms were too mild, and he wouldn't prescribe any medicine. Now, almost every household has encountered this kind of corpse bugs. Whether it is rice weevils, rotten meat, dead maggots, etc., corpse bugs can appear. The origin of carrion worms is the fish carcasses that were not salvaged in the sea and lakes at the beginning of the last days, the floating and rotting carcasses of other dead creatures, and the carcasses buried after the death of various poultry. In addition, the lack of sunlight for a long time has led to the evolution of new species invasion. The early carrion worms are twice as small as fleas, with a body length of 0.3 millimeters, but like mealworms, they like to live in groups and like to be crowded together. Once they are found, they will be a big bunch and easy to catch. The mother worms can fly and burrow. As long as they find a corpse, they can eat and reproduce thousands of worms continuously. It only takes a few days for another batch of flying mother worms to find food. This cycle is endless. Their living conditions are very simple. One millet worm is enough for a mother worm to reproduce. Carrion worms basically do not eat food, but now the weather is hot and many foods are easy to grow small worms that cannot be seen by the naked eye. When the small worms die, they will attract carrion worms, including human corpses, which they also like very much. On land, it has many natural enemies such as maggots, red nematodes, flying insects, chickens, ducks, humans, etc. As long as it is a living thing, it likes to eat it. However, because the fish and other creatures in the lake were almost extinct in the first year, they reproduced wildly and destroyed the food chain inside, resulting in a batch of grown-up carrion worms rushing over every high tide in the following years. They would crawl around everywhere, and the female worms would fly around looking for everything they could eat. It is also very common to be bitten like the luxury car dealership. When the carrion worms reproduce to a certain extent in a place, and there is nothing to eat, they will eat everything, including humans. Jingshu guessed that the carrion worms must have reproduced explosively in a certain place in the luxury car dealership, but he didn't find it. Jingshu soon found the carrion worms in the pig pen of the villa, but unfortunately, they were eaten clean by the fat chicken in the blink of an eye. The fat chicken pecking at the same frequency as the woodpecker, and the small carrion worms that were squeezed into a pile of squirming were gone. Jingshu thought that the fat chicken could have another nickname, called the phantom chicken. The fat chicken was still not satisfied and went to the cow pen, sheep pen, and even under the apple tree to look for new insects. As for the chicken pen on the second floor, Jingshu did not allow it to enter, and the fat chicken could only eat insects to its heart's content during the airing time every day. Jingshu went to the basement to search carefully. The constant temperature here was set at 0 degrees Celsius to better refrigerate food and grain. Now it is well protected here. At the beginning, most of the grain was placed in the space because of fear of insects. Turning on all the lights in the villa, Jingshu went to the mushroom bag cultivation rack, the flower room, and the small bedroom on the second floor where feed was stored to check carefully. After all, such small carrion worms, especially when laying eggs, might be hiding somewhere, and it is very difficult to find. When you find them, there will be a large group. In this life, Jingshu absolutely does not allow any carrion beetles to live in the place where she lives. She is really traumatized. Finally, Jingshu found several piles of carrion beetles laying eggs in the greenhouse. Jingma cleaned it every day, so these should be the ones that have just flown in to reproduce. There are too many fruits planted in the greenhouse, which will breed small flying insects such as honey bugs. This is inevitable. Any fruit will attract flying insects after a few days, and even potted plants and vegetables in the soil can attract small flying insects. Spraying wind oil every day can solve the problem of carrion beetles, but Jingshu does not want to spray on food. Looking at the fat chickens in the yard, looking for insects in the vegetable field from the second floor of the villa, Jingshu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Carrion beetles have many natural enemies. Do bees count? Thinking of this, Jingshu released some bees in the space above the carrion beetles. The bees did not seem to be very interested. They circled around the fruits first. When there was no honey to collect, they aimed at the carrion beetles laying eggs and killed them all in a short while. Since it was effective, Jingshu immediately built a small beehive in the greenhouse and raised dozens of bees. She didn't ask them to collect honey, but just to eat the intruding carrion beetles. Then Jingshu took the diluted wind oil and sprayed it in every corner of the villa. She also turned on the humidifier and dripped a few drops of floral water. In this way, the villa always had a light smell, which greatly avoided the invasion of carrion beetles. I don't know if it's because the bees have been fed in the space for half a year and the bees know Jingshu like fat chickens. Anyway, they won't sting her. I don't know if it's a psychological effect, but no matter what, family members have to wear hoods when they come in. At dinner in the evening, Jingshu explained that she found a beehive under the eaves and wanted to raise it in the greenhouse. She also said that she would be in charge of the greenhouse in the future. Jing's mother was happy to be quiet. By the way, can you get some more frogs? Jingshu suddenly asked Wu Yui. Jingshu suddenly remembered that when it comes to the natural enemies of carrion bugs, frogs are definitely the top choice. The second is the maggots that we sneer at. In the first year of the end times, the maggots fed a lot of people, and so many maggots were fed by carrion bugs. So it is said that the world is a cycle of reincarnation, and no one can escape from the fate. It is enough for Jingshu to have bees in the flower room on the second floor, which is also pleasing to the eye. It is also enough to have a fat chicken and a fighting chicken in the yard of the villa. It is guaranteed to eat all the bugs cleanly. The main plan is to raise some more frogs for trading and gifts. There must be something legitimate to do in the end times. People in the early days of the end of the world were very hypocritical. On the one hand, they were terrified when they encountered this rampant carrion bug. On the other hand, it did bring a lot of trouble to people. Even the most careful families would always be invaded by carrion bugs, and food would be wasted, and the whole body would be swollen and painful when bitten while sleeping. In Jingshu's previous life, she would always be bitten by carrion bugs when she slept outside. Even if there was floral water, it would be impossible to keep the whole house like Jingshu. People with a quick mind simply raised frogs after getting frogs as gifts and receiving good reviews. This is basically a pet that does not need food, and it can eat insects completely by itself. So when all the floral water and wind oil are used up, it will become popular. In the end of the world, if you want to give gifts, give live frogs. Keeping a frog at home can basically solve all the troubles of insects. Frogs after the end of the world have become one of the luxury goods like the famous dogs before the end of the world. Those who can keep frogs at home are very awesome. Frogs adapt to a temperature of about 32 degrees Celsius. Now that they are almost extinct, the insects will increase rapidly. If you want to eat stir-fried bullfrogs, deep-fried frog legs, braised forest frogs, and dry-pot bullfrogs, I'm afraid these frogs are not available. Wu Yui calmly picked up a piece of cola chicken wing and said, do other people think I'm a foodie? Jingshu rolled her eyes and said, any frog will do. Our professor also has a few South American bell frogs. They are ferocious and extremely greedy, but very easy to raise. They have a big mouth that takes up half of their body and will eat their own kind. Do you want one? Jingshu clapped her hands. Yes, I want this kind. After dinner, Jingshu took the fat chicken to her grandparents' house to clean it up. Sure enough, she found carrion worms, but not many. After all, the food at her grandparents' house was kept in Jingshu's refrigerator. Jingshu decided to take the fat chicken in for a walk every day to prevent the breeding of carrion worms. The matter of corpse beetles must be taken seriously, otherwise it will be too late to find out after all the food has been wasted. Just like the luxury car dealer in the community, he found out at night that his food was invaded by corpse beetles, and more than a dozen bags of rice were gone. Of course, it has developed to this extent, which means that his family has nothing to eat, so it can spread to his bed. Jingshu didn't dare to think about how many corpse beetles there were in this person's home. Did this person blame her for not reminding him at the beginning? Oh, it's retribution. Let's see how he survives in the end of the world. The corpse beetles wasted a lot of food at the beginning of the end of the world. People like the luxury car dealer who were careless had no food, which might lead to more and more people from robbery to burglary and injury, and then to murder when their nature was exposed. Anyway, many people in the group have had their food wasted. What can they do when there is no water or food? Jingshu knows that the 6 months of annihilation of humanity are finally coming. And starting from murder and robbery to building a party, it was officially defined by people as the end of the world. The evening news broadcast indeed mentioned this insect, named it carrion beetle, and introduced its habits, etc. It also reported that unscrupulous farms in various places secretly raised live poultry to sell at high prices, but still caused a large number of poultry deaths, resulting in the proliferation of carrion beetles. Hundreds of millions of female beetles flew out to reproduce and invaded every household in just 3 days. The country is spraying insects with pesticides on a large scale and burning poultry carcasses. The polluted lake is also filled with these insects floating in large numbers. It can be predicted that it will not be long before a large number of female insects fly around looking for places to reproduce. If there is no natural enemy to restrain them, the carrion worms will become a natural disaster. Scientists on the Science Channel even listed carrion worms at the top of the food chain, saying that it will not be long before carrion worms will eat up all the food, and then they were slapped in the face not long after. I will talk about this later. News reports that fenjiajing can play a role in expelling. Before the country finds a way to solve the problem, spray fenjiajing at home to prevent it and make sure that the food is intact. Jingshu also systematically checked the traps around her villa, the traps in front of the door and the traps behind the door. She still felt unsafe, so she exchanged 3 kilograms of rice for a complete set of infrared night vision monitoring and induction alarm systems from the then Suning manager Liu. Money has become worthless and is not as useful as food. After another 6 months of darkness, the money system will be completely scrapped. After the whole set of surveillance and sensor alarms around the gate were installed, plus 24-hour air conditioning, ice makers, and other electrical appliances were constantly running, Jingshu's family's electricity consumption was completely insufficient. UBC's power generation was already overwhelmed. Jingshu had to take out the gasoline generator, which generates 1 L of oil per day. After all, she still has 15 tons of gasoline, which is enough for decades, but she has to save some for migration. Now, as long as someone approaches the villa, Jingshu's mobile phone can take a picture. When the door is forced to open, the mobile phone will alarm. It is very advanced, and Jingshu feels safe. The next day, Wu Yui brought 5 bell-horned frogs. It has a big round mouth and a bulging belly that looks very funny, which is different from ordinary frogs. Jingshu and Jingya specially built a 2-square-meter living area for the frogs with wooden boards and placed it next to the pond. Jingya was still wondering, why do you need such a big nest for just a few frogs? I plan to breed some frogs, which can make a lot of money. Grandpa, you see that every household is now flooded with insects. If you raise more frogs, you don't have to worry about the carrion bugs, Jingshu said. Jingyi didn't think much of it, thinking to himself that what money could a small frog sell for, so he might as well just keep it as a pet. Jingshu put a male and a female frog into the space and separated them from the quail, and fed them with number 3, hoping that they could reproduce a batch soon. Jing's father finally came back, and he looked very energetic. He also brought back 2 boxes of mineral water. He said to Jing's mother, "Your sister-in-law's eldest brother and his family are really nice. They just helped me out, but they forced so much mineral water on me. By the way, did you know that your eldest brother said that some relatives were coming?" Jing's mother nodded and said, "It's been more than a month since they said that they would come from their hometown, but there has been no news." "What's wrong? Is he here? Who is coming? My parents' generation is almost gone. He just arrived a few days ago. I heard that he traveled on the road for more than a month and took several trains to get here. He is your father's cousin. You should call him uncle. Why haven't I heard you say that there is such a relative in your family?" Jing's father hesitated for a while and then continued. "He was supposed to live at your eldest brother's house, but I don't know why he lived at Su Mimi's house. It seems that he came here just for Su Mimi." When Su Mimi was mentioned, the atmosphere in the whole living room became a little cold. The grandparents had already returned to their house. Only Jing's father was still frying garlic sprouts, Jing's mother was fiddling with mushroom bags, and Jingshu was making ropes to tie frogs. Jingshu raised her head and squinted unconsciously. She remembered very clearly that in her previous life, there was absolutely no relative running all the way here, let alone her grandfather's cousin coming to see Su Mimi. What butterfly effect was fanned out in the middle? Mother Jing said my father and cousin came here as educated youth in the countryside a few years ago. After a few years, his family was recalled because of connections. My father was not so lucky and stayed behind. I was only a few years old at that time and didn't remember anything. I only heard about these things from my mother later. After my parents passed away, we completely lost contact with our hometown. Jingshu frowned and thought, Grandpa has passed away for many years. Why did he suddenly come here from afar after so many years of no contact? What was the reason? Is there any secret? Father Jing nodded. Your eldest brother doesn't look well either. There may be other things involved. Since it has nothing to do with us, let's not worry about it. The old man has come from so far away, we still have to go and see him. Besides, my parents' generation is basically gone. Alas. Mother Jing sighed. Finally, the whole family decided to wait for the old lady to leave and send her off, mainly because Jing's mother was being hypocritical. I really don't want to go to her aunt's house. I have seen through her. Jing's mother would never be so sad about a stranger. The problem is that they grew up together. She gave Su Mimi all the good things she had. Jing's mother treated Su Mimi with all her heart, but what was the result? Su Mimi not only did not help Jing's mother when she was in trouble, but also calculated how to take advantage of Jing's mother, which completely broke Jing's mother's heart. Well, I should go and see. Jingshu thought. She must find out what butterfly effect caused something that didn't happen in her previous life, and she would not take Su Mimi lightly. The work of her hands became faster and faster. Jingshu skillfully made hundreds of frog tying ropes. This was a technique she learned from a frog breeder in her previous life. The tying rope is actually a slip knot, which is similar to a dog leash. It can be adjusted to act on the neck and limbs of small frogs to large frogs to prevent the frogs from jumping and disappearing. After all, in the end times when insects are rampant and frogs are almost extinct due to high temperatures, raising a frog is very precious, and not everyone can afford it. The biggest function of raising a frog is to eat insects, but the premise is that the owner must provide water and adapt to the temperature. For this reason, Jingshu also went to the glass factory to steal a lot of containers for frogs. Generally, the frogs stay in the containers, and every few hours they can be tied with a rope to eat the inexplicable extra insects at home. The bell-horned frog can live for more than 10 years if it is well raised, and can eat all the insects around it. It is much more useful than the discontinued floral water. Unfortunately, in the difficult living conditions of the end times, few people can do it. In just a few days, the bell-horned frog in Jingshu's magic cube space has laid many tadpoles, while the 3 outside the villa have no reaction at all. Jingshu knows that frogs are difficult to reproduce and only have one season a year, so it has become rare to raise frogs in the end times. Take your baby frog to the unit to eat insects tomorrow. Insecticides are too tight recently, Jing's mother said. Jingshu agreed while watching the episode in the group. Wang Chichi number 13, now at 5, at 3, at 1, at 7 all the food in their homes has been eaten by carrion beetles. Who has food left and is willing to trade with them or sell some to them? They are already queuing up at the supermarket entrance, but it will probably take 2 days before they can get in line to buy things. Then everyone in the group talked about how their own families had also wasted a lot of food, and now they don't even have instant noodles to eat. Only cornmeal and rice are left, and they are not enough to eat. Xiao Nai. I have a baby number 13. I can exchange 5 kilograms of dried sweet potatoes with that for all the baby products he prepared. Almost everyone knows that Wang Dajiao's pregnant wife died because she ate vegetables sold by scalpers, and her body was forcibly burned that day. Wang Dazhao number 1. Okay. All 10 cans of uncontaminated milk powder are for your family's Tuanzi to drink. Young milk, I have a baby number 13. Thank you so much. Then I'll give you another 10 kilograms of rice. Now the milk powder is out of stock and you can't buy it. Wen Dazhao number 1. Thank you. Seeing that someone still had snacks like dried sweet potatoes at home, many people were excited and exchanged half a kilogram of rice for some dried sweet potatoes. As for the other 3 people, there was nothing worth exchanging at home, and even with Wang Qiqi's help, it didn't work. In the end, Wang Xuemei agreed to pay 300 yuan per person to send them a bowl of white rice to the supermarket tomorrow, and this was for Wang Qiqi's sake. Some time ago, there were scalpers selling vegetables, but they disappeared during this period. Cabbage could not be bought even if it was priced at 1,000 yuan. The special vegetables for the leaders' families were much less, not to mention that there was no one selling grain at a high price. All food factories stopped production, and supermarkets were out of all other goods. Only rice and noodles were sold in limited quantities and for a limited time every day. Everyone wanted to store some more food. The sun has disappeared for half a year, and the temperature is high, and there is a lack of water. Even the country has to implement artificial sun, which means that there is no large-scale grain production yet. Everyone has realized the seriousness of the problem. Although there is still grain, there is not much left, and everyone wants to stock up more grain. Many people feel that they stocked up too much grain half a year ago and now regret stocking less. In this case, no one is willing to sell grain. The next day, Jingshu took the 5 frogs tied with ropes to Jingma's unit and found out that Yukani used pesticides to kill insects, and there was no shortage of anything. Only Jingma's side was pitiful and had nothing. But fortunately, the garlic sprouts, spinach, and oyster mushrooms on Jingma's side were growing lushly, and each one was very juicy and pleasing. Jingshu pulled the rope and released the bell frog. The frogs in the space were obviously active, jumping to find insects, while the other 3 frogs were much more dull. "Mom, why are there so many carrion worms here?" Jingshu asked, looking at several piles of carrion worms that were about to take shape in the corner. "In 2 days, there will definitely be tens of thousands of carrion larvae. They bully the weak and fear the strong. They don't dare to go to places with pesticides," Jing's mother said. Just as the mother and daughter were chatting, footsteps were heard. "Director, the vegetables over there are probably eaten by insects. Look at how well our vegetables are growing here. We have come up with several solutions based on different pesticide experiments." Then I heard a man's voice, "Yours too. Let's go check on Deputy Director Su's situation first. The carrion bugs have been rampant recently, and the higher-ups haven't allocated pesticides. It seems that we have to find a solution ourselves." Then I saw a man in his 30s with an upright figure enter the door first, followed by Lu, a paunchy clerk. Jingshu knew this man, Lu, who was behind Yukani bargaining for the house. "Deputy Director Su, we will bring out the test product to participate in the competition tomorrow. How is it going? What else do you need? By the way, who is this?" The man first smiled and shook hands with Jingma, then looked at Jingshu and asked, "This is my daughter Jingshu. She brought frogs to help eat the bugs today." Jingma introduced Jingshu and then said to Jingshu, "This is our director Zhu. When the location of the artificial sun is determined, he will become the director." He completely ignored the bald Lu behind him, who rolled his eyes with disdain despite his paunchy belly. "Hello, Director Niu." Jingshu smiled harmlessly. Hello, are you used to being here?" Nyomu looked very young and friendly. He was a man with high emotional intelligence. Generally, politicians who were doing well were absolutely friendly to the families of their subordinates. Seeing the 5 ropes in Jingshu's hand and the frogs eating insects, Director Niu's interest was really aroused. "Jingshu, your method is good. The Ministry of Agriculture also wants to suppress carrion beetles in this way. Unfortunately, many frogs are dying now. In addition, it is not the breeding season now, so it is difficult to breed in batches. Then he asked some more questions. After learning that Jingshu had bred a batch of tadpoles, Nyomu's eyes lit up. Director Nyo, I'll give this one to you to raise at home first. Try to see if my idea is feasible. If every family raises frogs that only eat insects, can we reduce the number of insects at home? Jingshu handed over the male frog that had been raised in the space for 2 days. Lu rolled his eyes with disdain while shaking his legs. Giving frogs as a gift is too cheap. Nyomu kept saying sorry, but unfortunately the fat boy who was hiding behind the door and eavesdropping rushed in. He first looked at his father pitifully and said, "Dad, my mom said she's had enough of those bugs. If she can't think of a solution, she'll make you kneel down." While his father was stunned under the shadow of being ruled, he took the rope and said, "Thank you, sister." The naughty child also knew how to make a feint to the east and attack in the west. Director Neo had no choice but to give up. He thanked him very embarrassedly, as if he had accepted a very expensive gift. Jingshu felt that he valued the things Jingshu gave him and that she was very useful. For such a sensible person, it would be unfair if he didn't climb fast. No wonder he became a director in his 30s and was able to soar after the end of the world. After seeing the test products that Jing's mother had raised these days, he was very surprised. It seems that artificially grown vegetables are indeed unique. Your oyster mushrooms are particularly good. Then several people went to visit Yukani's experimental vegetables. Director Neo asked a few questions. Will the excessive use of pesticides affect health? Does the catalyst meet international standards for use, or does it exceed the standard? Does this genetically modified crop have any adverse reactions? Everyone was speechless, but Officer Lu said, "Now there is no food who can care so much." Didn't the higher-ups also relax the policy so that we can just increase production? Director Neo nodded, then make a note of the dosage to be added and let the higher-ups make the decision. The next day was the day for the competition of the experimental products grown in the 13 districts. At 4 a.m., Jingshu's family had breakfast and went with Jing's mother to get the samples prepared yesterday. Unexpectedly, countless flying insects swarmed out as soon as the old warehouse was opened. "It's the queen of the carrion beetle." Jingshu zipped up her one-piece clothes and turned back to zip it up for Jing's mother. Jing's father used a stick to drive away the flying insects. Jing's mother turned on the light without caring about anything else and was shocked by the tragic scene inside. The dense piles of carrion larvae were wriggling in different places, biting all the vegetables in the warehouse into holes. The results of her hard work for several days were now all wasted. With a bang, Jing's mother knelt on the ground, scaring away countless queen of the carrion beetle. "It's her. It's you, Kai and I. She must have deliberately put these insects in my warehouse." Jing's mother screamed, extremely unwilling. It can be regarded as a lesson for my simple mother about the wickedness of human nature. Jingshu thought about calling Director Neo, and he hurried over soon. He was also shocked when he saw the situation in front of him. Yesterday, all the carrion worms were eaten by frogs. Before leaving and closing the door, Lao Chen and I carefully checked every inch of the place. "It's impossible for it to develop like this overnight, right?" Jing's mother murmured with unfocused eyes. Director Neo called Yu Kai and I over. Yu Kai and I and the other two said arrogantly, "What evidence do you have that I put the bugs in?" "Huh? Don't spit blood." No matter what, the competition only looks at the results. It is impossible to give you 10 days or half a month to cultivate samples unless you come up with new samples. Yukai and I sneered twice and was very satisfied with Su Longji's decadent look. She said to Zhu Mu, "Director Neo, when you go there, we must also cooperate well. If you need a professor-level researcher, just tell me. I believe that integrating our resources can maximize the benefits." Jingshu raised her eyebrows. Yukai and I really has some background. No wonder she was able to rise with Zhu Mu in her previous life, but she might be brought down by her in this life. Okay, I'm going to participate in the competition. By the way, Deputy Director Su, after the competition, I hope you can bring money to exchange for your shabby house. otherwise you won't be the deputy director for long. Yukai and I changed into a neat OL outfit today, got a few bottles of water from the dead man, washed her head and face, put on light makeup, and felt very awesome. Of course, if you change, I'll barely let you work for another month. Yukai and I thought quietly in her heart. Seeing that the show was over, Jingshu came out to collect it. Mom, did you forget that there is still a sample we took back yesterday at home? Let's go and get it quickly. Jing's mother took a long time to react. Oh, yes. Fortunately, there is still a copy. Then go quickly. Don't worry. If you can win this time, I will definitely help you get justice. Nyomu's meaning is very simple. Otherwise, he can't do anything if he can't win, because history is always written by the winner. Jingshu and her family hurried back home. Of course, there were no samples left. Some of them were grown by themselves. It was a bit troublesome to reload them into the sample box, but there was enough time. In order to win, Jingshu kept adding diluted spiritual spring to garlic sprouts and oyster mushrooms. I believe that they can grow more when they get to the place. How the moldy mushrooms that made me vomit came from. Jing's mother kept blaming herself along the way. If I had known that Yukai and I was such a person who would do anything to get what she wanted, I should have taken precautions. The look in her eyes yesterday was not right, but I never thought that a person could do such evil. Or maybe I thought people were too kind. People always learn to be smart after they suffer losses and fall down. It is better to fall down hard than to teach them 1,000 times. To train Baozi's parents, you have to let them suffer a lot. If it doesn't work once, then try it twice. The Lingquan dripped into the garlic sprouts and oyster mushrooms at any cost. In a few hours, they grew a lot and became more vigorous. Jingshu was a little hesitant that such an experimental product would have a higher yield than normal. Would it arouse suspicion? Only then did she realize that she was overthinking. At the same time, Jingshu also understood why she was able to survive in her previous life. She thanked God for not killing her and thanked her for eating so many unknown drugs and being able to live for 10 years in the end of the world. The various experimental products of the 13 district governments of Wucheng are simply 100 birds singing. Spinach sprayed with a certain element can mature in 2 days. The abnormal garlic grafted with garlic and sprayed with pesticides can produce 6 or 7 heads at each end. I don't know if it can be eaten. Although Jingma's experimental product, the oyster mushroom, is very excellent, it only won the 3rd place in the final evaluation. The 1st place is the experimental product of the new urban area of Wucheng, which has changed the gene of the oyster mushroom. It has been sprayed with dozens of times of mold and medicine and soaked in green and smelly liquid. It can grow more than a dozen bundles of oyster mushrooms from one mushroom bag. Several layers of green oyster mushrooms like moss can continue to grow in the mushrooms. It is extremely disgusting to look at it. I don't know how she ate it in her previous life. One bag of mushrooms can feed 20 people. The advantages are high yield and low cost, and the extraction is easy to mass produce. The disadvantages are bad taste, and the incomplete evaporation of mold and other things will leave safety hazards in the human body. Jingshu knows that this kind of oyster mushroom is the vegetable she vomited in her previous life and never wanted to eat again. It turned out that it was developed so early, just like forcing a chicken to grow 4 or 5 wings. The 2nd place is the genetically modified corn, which is a new species that does not need sunlight, has high yield and lower planting requirements. It is still under research. Considering its value, it is ranked 2nd. Although Jingma was rated 3rd, the leaders praised the vegetables after tasting them. Finally, Jingma's development zone was designated as government-exclusive vegetables. In the future, the 12 districts will supply the people of Wucheng, and Jingma's development zone will supply all the governments of Wucheng. This is a promising job and a very dangerous job. As for Yukani's test product, it performed too ordinary. It did not taste as good as Jingma's, nor did it have the low cost and high yield of the 1st place. It was similar to the test products of other districts, mass production of piles of catalysts. This cost is too high. After all, the cost of catalysts is also very high, so it won the 7th place. Yukani was furious on the spot. She cheated. All the vegetables in her laboratory were eaten by insects. She stole them from somewhere else. So why the winner is the king and the loser is the enemy, and the winner is right and the loser is useless. Nyomu saw that the game was set, so he stood up and solved the matter perfectly. Yukani was immediately fired from her position of deputy director and demoted 3 levels. She was also required to undergo training in the management department for 3 months before the situation could be determined. If she did not obey, she would be unemployed. There is rarely any dismissal in public institutions, and being unemployed is almost the same as being fired. Liu, the officer, was demoted by 1 level and laid off for 3 months for training because of his involvement in lax supervision, which caused serious financial losses to the unit. If he refused to accept the decision, he could go home and be unemployed. Look, sometimes it doesn't matter whether there is evidence or not. If you want to make trouble for someone, you can use any excuse. Jingshu pointed out Nyomu's thundering methods to Jingma in just 1 day. All the remaining followers of Yu Kai and I were dealt with, and all obstacles were cleared for you before he took office. Not only that, he also left a big gift package, hiring Jingshu as an honorary consultant of the Development Zone Management Department, responsible for implementing the frog breeding and pest control plan without pesticides, and the salary was calculated according to the pest control area and the effect. In the next few days, Jingma began to be busy with the handover work with Director Nyo. Yu Kai and I and Liu had to continue their layoff training every day. The content was to recite various systems in the morning and follow the trainer to do basic work in the morning. They did the dirty and tiring work, such as spreading the feces evenly and drying them in fertilizer making. In less than a few days, Yu Kai and I lost weight and had calluses on her hands. On Monday, May 1st, 2023, just like in the previous life, the government officially launched the Artificial Sun Project after determining the location of the artificial sun in the new urban area reservoir. It is expected to be completed in 4 months and put into trial operation in early October, when all water, electricity, and gas supplies can be restored. At the same time, news of the construction of artificial suns in various cities has also been heard in various places. The time is more or less, but everyone expresses the same meaning. Hold on a little longer. Everything will be fine when the artificial sun is put into use. At that time, it doesn't matter whether there is sun or not, whether it is high in the daytime or low in the night, there will be a constant supply of energy. But at this time, the people who have been patient for 5 months and those who have been looking for trouble finally couldn't hold back their wolfish ambitions and began to stir. At the same time, from this day on, all the gas in Wuching was stopped. From then on, those who wanted to cook could only use rice cookers to cook rice, and fried rice could only use induction cookers. Coal and firewood could also be used. Fortunately, every household now has no vegetables, dried goods, meat, and frozen products, let alone cooking. Even the oil has been used up long ago. The only food they can eat is steamed rice and noodles. So as long as they can cook the rice for the next day within the 2 hours of power supply every day, it will not have much impact. But the problem comes again. A family of 3 eats 3 kilograms of rice all day long. In the past, a bag of 10 kilograms of rice lasted for several months. Now, without other side dishes, a bag of 10 kilograms of rice is only eaten for 6 or 7 days. Last month, there were more than 10 bags of rice in the family, but this month, only a few bags are left. Even if a family of 3 goes to the supermarket to queue up every day, it basically takes 2 days of eating and living there to queue up. However, each person can only buy 1 kilogram of rice now, which is not enough to keep up with the consumption. This is still a relatively good situation. What about those who didn't save enough food earlier? What about those who have received food since last month, but people are gradually sticking together? So, the first one started. Cheers. Cheers. Today we celebrate 3 things. The first thing is to celebrate the official launch of the National Artificial Sun Project. The second thing is to celebrate Longji's promotion to become the director. And the third thing is to celebrate Jingshu's decent job. Jing's father raised the red wine. The whole family toasted to celebrate and started eating with a string of blessings. Jingshu was particularly emotional. At this time in her previous life, Jingma had a heat stroke and went home to be unemployed. Jingda stood in line at the supermarket in temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius. When the temperature dropped to 3 degrees Celsius at night, he would spread a thick blanket in the supermarket line and sleep to save a spot. Probably from then on, Jingshu was truly grown up. Not only did she have to take care of Jingma, but she also had to prepare a day's food from 5 to 7 p.m., ride a bicycle for 3 or 4 kilometers, and then send it to Jingda. She had to wait in line until the next night to buy some food. Every household would leave someone in the supermarket to save a spot. Later, it evolved into a spectacular scene of spreading a blanket on the ground, family members delivering food during the day, and then the whole family would queue together. This scene continued until the government simply closed the supermarket. Of course, this led to many people getting heat stroke while queuing, but the hospital had stopped giving them medicine. They just had to drink some water and lie down for a while. Whether they could survive was up to fate. There were also many elderly people who had various diseases and needed medicine to maintain them. After they stopped taking medicine, they gradually became unfit. In a new community like Jingshu, this phenomenon rarely happens. In communities with many elderly people, there are really large numbers of deaths. Many people who didn't dare to make a fuss before are now making a fuss. In this life, Jingshu's family sits neatly at the dining table, eating vegetables that are not available outside, drinking milk that is not available outside, and using electricity that is not available outside. Even if water resources are scarce, Jingshu's family still has 2 large water storage tanks, which can be used to save water for the last 6 months. Jingshu is very fortunate that she has lived a new life and finally lived the life she had dreamed of in her previous life. The family doesn't have to go to the supermarket every day to queue up and worry. The fourth thing is to celebrate Jing Lai becoming the chef of the city government cafeteria. This time, Jing Ya raised his glass and everyone applauded. All the poultry in the West City slaughterhouse has been cooked and stored, and the temporary workers have been laid off. Third Aunt Jing Lai worked hard and was retained. Just as the family was celebrating, Jingshu and Wu Yui's mobile phones kept ringing. They took them out and saw that it was another explosion in the group. Wang Xueme number 2, help, there are 5 or 6 people holding knives at my door, and one is trying to pry open my door. The police phone is busy. We are all 3 at home. My home is in building 2, unit 401. It was an unfortunate time, and more than half of the people were queuing in the supermarket. Wang Qiqi immediately said that if they broke in, they must not resist, and give them whatever they wanted, and then asked everyone who was at home. When they heard that they were all tough guys with knives, almost everyone wilted. The security guards at the door had all gone home a few days ago because they could not afford food with 3,000 yuan a month, which led to someone taking advantage of the situation to come in. Finally, Wang Qiqi said that if they did not unite, this group of people would most likely rob the next house, and all the men at home in the community should take knives and gather at Unit 1, Building 2, and scare the people away first. And then 7 or 8 people were gathered. Jing's father immediately found 2 longest machetes from the kitchen and was ready to go out. Jing's grandmother couldn't stop him. Mom, I'm doing this so that when someone robs our house, I can get help from others. Then you can't go and die, silly son. Jing's grandmother just wouldn't agree. Finally, Jingshu said that she would drive away and make up the number before convincing the old man. Jingshu also went with him, and in order to monitor Jing's father, she asked him to make up the number. In her previous life, for various reasons, Jingshu had accidentally killed people who wanted to kill her, stripped the clothes of the dead, slept with the dead, and robbed the dead of their leftovers. After drinking the spiritual spring in this life, She always had a kind of restlessness to kill. So the biggest purpose of going this time is actual combat. Unfortunately, everyone was a step too late. By the time they were about to gather, they had already finished breaking into the building. Building 2 was really far away. It took Jingshu 2 minutes to drive there, and she parked the car next to Unit 3. Turn off the lights and the engine. You stay in the car and don't go anywhere. I'm going to meet them. Wait for me to come back. Jing's father wore a helmet and was fully armed. He hurried over with a knife. Baozi's father had the attitude of, I try my best to help others, and others will definitely help me. This was a good intention, but I was afraid that the end of the world would teach him to be a new person. Jing's father entered the door of Unit 1. When Jingshu got out of the car with a real iron rod and prepared to follow him, a group of people ran out of Unit 3 and the two sides collided. There were 6 people on the other side. 4 of them were holding machetes and 2 were carrying rice. They had a strong smell of blood. Jingshu became agitated as soon as she smelled it, and a feeling of not being able to control herself came to her head. Hey, Brother Tao, that chick just refused to obey. Isn't there another one? She's dark, but judging by her figure, she's definitely a woman. He walked up to her and tried to grab her with a knife. Jingshu didn't expect to run into someone right away when she went out, but at this moment, maybe because of the smell of blood, her body secreted a lot of adrenaline, her heartbeat accelerated, her body temperature rose. Jingshu began to get inexplicably excited. Her eyes lit up in the dark, and she seemed to be able to see more clearly. Jingshu didn't give anyone a reaction and hit the black shadow with a stick. With a loud bang, it hit the black shadow's head. The iron stick broke under the force, and the black shadow screamed and fell to the ground. When the other people realized that something was wrong and hadn't shouted, "Go, kill her," they saw a huge rock falling from the sky. Everyone only heard the sound of the stone breaking through the air, and the next moment it hit the flesh, and a dull thump and a feeling of severe pain came over them. The one who was hit on the head immediately lost consciousness, with his brains splattered all over the floor and blood splattered everywhere. The one who was hit on the stomach and legs just lay on the ground and couldn't get up. Jingshu's secret weapon of space was extremely powerful. It was fired at a distance of 7 or 8 meters between the two sides, directly killing 3 people on the spot. The other 2 were not killed because they were standing together and sharing the force. When they were lying on the ground and howling under the pressure of the cone-shaped stone, Jingshu walked over step by step. In the darkness, her vision was particularly clear. She could see that the other party was in pain with tears and snot on their faces. One of them even had incontinence, but for some reason, she was very excited. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Jingshu took the broken iron rod and pierced the necks of the 2 people. It can be seen that Jingshu is very strong. The first battle was a victory, and it took dozens of seconds to finish it. Jingshu began to clean up the battlefield quickly again. Jingshu was still excited after killing people until the adrenaline was completely secreted. After calming down, Jingshu began to be afraid. She didn't expect that she would be so violent. Was it because of the influence of the spiritual spring? If I could kill people this way in my previous life, I wouldn't have died. One of the 5 cone-shaped boulders that were shot out broke, and the remaining 4 did not break because they hit the people and had a buffer. Jingshu smashed the bloody boulders hard to make several big holes next to them, buried the people in them, and then collected the boulders. Jingshu calmed down and went upstairs, where she heard Wang Xuemei crying, and learned that her husband and daughter were dead. "Why are your hands shaking? If you're scared, let's go back quickly." Jing's father noticed that Jing's hands were shaking all the time and said distressfully, "You killed 6 people at once and then carried the crushed and sticky bodies back to the pit one by one and buried them. See if your hands are shaking." Jing thought to herself, but said, maybe she found 2 bags of rice that were dropped by the group of people who ran away in a hurry downstairs, and she was tired from carrying them up. There were 8 bags of rice in total. No matter how stupid she was, she would not lose them all. Jing couldn't be stupid and say, "Hey, I killed all 6 people," so she could only make up something. "Thank you." Wang Xuemei looked at the rice she brought back and didn't have much emotion. She just continued to hold her tragically dead daughter tightly with lifeless eyes. She had cried so hard that she couldn't shed tears, and the most important thing was that she still didn't believe that her husband and daughter were dead. People were dead, and a group of grown men didn't know what to do. Wang Qiqi, wearing a pot on his head and holding a frying pan, squatted on the side and talked about the solution. The others could only use flashlights to clean up the broken debris on the ground. Wang Xuemei was 40 years old, and her family of 3 was happy. She had an 18-year-old daughter. When the incident happened, she did what Wang Qiqi said and gave her everything she wanted. But the people on the other side were like wild animals that had escaped from a cage, and they just wanted to do something they didn't dare to do normally. "Brother Tao, the Zhatian party is going to cause a big trouble in the new urban area today. The police can't get here at all. We can do whatever we want today and no one will care. It's Brother Tao, it's so dark and the whole city has no electricity. No one can see each other, hee." Several people had evil thoughts about Wang Xuemei's daughter. No parents in the world can watch their children being humiliated, so the 2 sides started fighting. In the end, Wang Xuemei was clamped by the 2 and couldn't move. She could only listen to the screams of her daughter and husband. After a while, she heard, "Oh, it seems someone was hacked to death. Brother Tao, go away quickly. It would be bad if the police come to investigate if someone is killed. I heard a lot of people coming up. Fuck him, my head is broken. Carry the rice and leave quickly. It's unlucky. Go out from another unit door." As soon as several people left, Wang Qiqi came up with his men. Jingshu said that it was fortunate that they were a step late, otherwise it would be so embarrassing if the 2 sides met. "Would you let them go or would you fight to the death?" Wang Qiqi and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the person had left. Otherwise, they would have run faster than anyone else because they were afraid of death. When they entered the room, they found blood all over the floor. The father and daughter were stabbed in the aorta in the chaos and bled too much. They died even after being taken to the hospital. 110 was busy. 120 was no longer available. Wang Qiqi called 130, the body-carrying number. Half an hour later, the car arrived. 4 people came with body bags to carry the body away. Wang Xuemei held her daughter's body and refused to let them go. "It's like this, ma'am. Due to the invasion of carrion beetles, the new policy is that all dead bodies must be taken to the crematorium for cremation immediately. For the family members who cooperate, the government will give 10 kilograms of rice for each deceased person as a consolation. For the family members who do not cooperate, it can only be recorded. You don't want your relatives to be crawling with carrion beetles in half a day, do you?" The captain of the body-carrying team said, wearing a heavy protective clothing and holding 2 bags of rice. The last sentence really touched Wang Xuemei's heart. She burst into tears and nodded, "I'll go with you. I want to take back their ashes." Wang Xuemei's family ended up with 2 people dead. Wang Qiqi posted a notice in the group asking everyone to be careful recently and was preparing to organize a patrol team, but the effect was not good because everyone had to go to the supermarket to line up to buy food during this period. Who had time to patrol? Is patrol useful? What should I do if I encounter a dozen people with knives? When Jingshu returned home, her grandparents, her 3rd aunt, Wu Yui, and Jing's mother were all sitting in the restaurant waiting anxiously. When they learned that 2 people had died, everyone's faces were not very good. Just for a few bags of rice and a little girl, they can kill people? Jing's grandfather paced back and forth, and he didn't need the massage chair. It was too horrifying. "It's a pity. We can't let others know that there are so many foods in our house," Jing's grandmother said in horror. "How about parents and sisters? You can live here. The community is not safe now. I have sealed it with tempered glass. I guarantee that they can't pry open the door. Jing's father said worriedly. Come on, little uncle, let Grandpa and Grandma live here and you can have food. My mom and I really can't get used to it, so we'll live in Grandma's house. There's nothing there, and I believe it won't attract attention. Wu Yui looked at the comics and said indifferently, You two women are so unsafe. I haven't taken a shower for 3 months. If they don't mind and can tolerate it, I won't resist. Wu Yui shrugged. Didn't she say that if she couldn't resist, she would just enjoy it? Wu Yui's second-year syndrome came back again. She had always imagined that the robber was a handsome guy, so she even prepared condoms. If possible, she would ask the guy to wear a condom. If he was really handsome, let them fall in love with him. In the end, it was decided that Wu Yui and the third aunt would go home to live, and Jing Nai and Jing Yi would move in for a few days, which would also be convenient for cooking for everyone. Before returning to the bedroom, Jing Shi went to the yard to check the little frogs that had grown 4 legs, and moved them to the chicken coop at night. After all, the temperature was still very low at night. There were already more than 100 little frogs, and the female frogs laid another batch of tadpoles. It seemed that this batch of frogs had to be dealt with as soon as possible. Every day when Jingshu goes to the back mountain, she will bring number 1 to catch insects for the frog. Recently, she has trained number 1 to put the insects it catches into the insect bag, and then she will reward it with diluting the spiritual spring. Fatty Chicken learned it quickly. The reason why the 6 bodies were buried in the soil and not burned was because there were not enough insects around for Fatty Chicken to eat, so it was just right to raise another batch of carrion worms. With 6 bodies as nutrients, there should be a lot of carrion worms. This can also be regarded as waste utilization, right? After settling the frog, Jingshu went to the greenhouse to inspect. Everything was normal and there was no invasion of carrion worms. The bees were next to the hive, which was the source of water for diluting the spiritual spring, just like the bees in the space. She went to the drying platform again. There were only 2 of the 4 large water tanks left. Jingshu now secretly adds some 15 cubic meters of mineral water stored in the space to the drinking water tank every day. Although there is a water circulation system, each person also goes to the water truck to get 1.5 L of water for irrigation every day, but it is still not enough. There are too many places in the villa that use water. Vegetables, apple and apricot trees, fruits in the greenhouse need to be watered, and poultry and people need to keep adequate water intake in hot weather. Jingshu is so poor that she doesn't drink the water at home anymore. She has been drinking watermelon juice and orange juice, but she can't stand drinking it every day. I thought the coconuts would bear fruit in 2 months, but who knew that it would take another half a month to grow? 6 coconut trees filled 6 1-cubic-meter fields. She wanted to plant some strawberries around them, but there was really no space. Jingshu looked forward to the fruits every day, but the coconut trees had grown to 25 meters high and still had no fruits. Fortunately, each 1-cubic-meter field in the magic cube space can extend in all directions, providing crops for growth, but it cannot store things. Jingshu's spirit body is blocked when it touches places outside the farmland, which can be understood as the black vision of the game map, which cannot be seen or touched. The coconut milk that Jingshu had been thinking about has never been made, but the corn has been harvested for several times. Jingshu is going to remember by chance that she harvested a batch of corn a few months ago to prepare for a live broadcast of cooking, and then drag out sacks of corn from the basement. It will be great to make corn juice at that time. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. Maybe because she had consumed too much physical work before, Jingshu also ate a lot of supper. A few days ago, she collected a batch of fish from the villa pond and made them into grilled fish, fried fish, and boiled fish. Tonight, she finished a pot of green pepper and white jade boiled fish fillet, thinking that such a good soup should not be wasted, and then added shrimp balls, beef rolls, etc., and ate a hot pot. Slurp, it was so delicious. While eating, Jingshu made a battle summary so that she could learn lessons and make persistent efforts. Today, considering that there were too many people holding weapons on the opposite side, she did not get close to them and did not give them time to react. She directly killed them with a boulder. Although it was cool, it broke a conical boulder. It is not easy to cut a conical boulder. The giant stone can't be used at a distance of 7 or 8 meters. In the future, at such a close distance, you can control more than a dozen crossbows in the space to fire at once. If you are in danger but can't expose the secret of the space, use the giant stone. After practicing the Rubik's Cube space for 2 hours, Jingshu has made a lot of progress today. Now she is very skilled, especially after the inexplicable secretion of adrenaline today made her excited, and she entered a state of selflessness when practicing the Rubik's Cube. In a few months at most, it will definitely be upgraded to the 6th level of the Rubik's Cube space. When the Rubik's Cube is proficient to a certain extent, there is a feeling of giving birth. The book says that even if you can't kiss, you will know what to do when it actually happens. It's the same. It's the original instinct of human beings. At 4 o'clock in the morning of the next day, Jingshu was fully armed, holding a broken iron rod, and brought a fat chicken, a mother frog, and hundreds of little frogs as well as their containers and ropes to send Jingma to work. Yesterday was the first day of Wuqing's construction of the artificial sun. The electricity and other resources invested were countless. Thousands of workers were recruited alone. It is said that many official guards were stationed. That is, from this day on, the salaries of all official units in Wuqing were halved and became paid in rice, noodles, water, and even vegetables. A month later, this was implemented in all enterprises and units until the sun returned. This made more people envious, jealous, and hateful, and also caused more people's dissatisfaction. Jing's father drove, Jing's mother cracked apricot kernels, Jingshu sat in the back seat and browsed posts, and the fat chicken stayed quietly at Jingshu's feet, looking at its owner aggrievedly. Every time it dared to poop in the car, it would be beaten, so it had to hold its intestines. Just like in the previous life, yesterday, hundreds of armed members named Jitian Party robbed hundreds of households in Huasheng community. They broke in groups of 10, killed people first, robbed food, and then evacuated quickly. Because there were too few survivors and too few clues to provide, this group of people fled in all directions after committing the crime, which gave great resistance to the official armed personnel in the era without surveillance. That person finally appeared again. Who would have thought that just one person would lead the whole country into an era of chaos and killing? Maybe he just took advantage of human nature. Then all kinds of strange organizations will emerge all over the country saying that the end of the world is coming, and all kinds of speeches that are likely to cause bad results. In layman's terms, it is necessary to control public opinion. Then those who want to retaliate against society, those who have always wanted to break the law but dare not, and those who have done these things before will become unscrupulous. When there is still order in a society, such things should not happen. Jingshu didn't know about this until everyone knew about it for a long time. This was a premeditated incident by 3 parties. Generally speaking, other countries don't like us. Why do we have gun battles every day? Various science fiction and robbery movies. We are not stable. Presidents have changed one after another, and the people's protests can line up like the Great Wall. They say every day how good you are, why are you so stable, and don't make any trouble. Why is our mortality rate at 10% and yours at only 5%? No, we must make some trouble. So we bribed many people. First, set an example for everyone. Do something big and set the pace. Look, we have all done it and nothing happened. Why don't you do something? This completely detonated the darkness in the hearts of those who have been suppressed for a long time. So there has been this inhumane darkness for half a year. Maybe it would have erupted even without that person. Jingshu sighed. Even if she lived again and knew so much, it would not change anything. That person was playing with people's hearts. All she can do is protect her family and survive in the apocalypse where living conditions are even more difficult. Jingma got busy as soon as she arrived at the unit, and Jingshu took the frogs to kill insects in the constant temperature rooms. Minister Nyomu brought 2 buses of leaders and their families in the morning. It looks like they are here for tourism, otherwise why would they bring their families? Before Jingshu could figure out what was going on, Minister Nyo spoke first. Thank you for your support, family members. Today I will show you the vegetables in the development zone. We plan to provide these vegetables to all regular employees in Wiching in 15 days. Please rest assured that these are all grown by us. By the way, have you seen these little frogs that eat insects? This is an insect control project contracted out by the development zone. If you need them, you can buy 2 frogs and take them home to raise. After I raised one at home, there were no more insects. Click, click. Several camera flashes sounded, capturing the amiable middle-aged man pointing at the frogs affectionately and the curious children squatting down to count the frogs. The interaction between parents and children and Nyomu's speech on how to grow vegetables in the dark moved countless family members of employees. These precious scenes were all recorded. Jingshu rolled up her trouser legs and stepped on the ground to plant rice seedlings. She also had to maintain an elegant and polite smile in front of the camera until Nyomu said, "Thank you for your hard work. You can go back to write the manuscript." After the photographer left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and became extremely curious about these frogs. Many children were brought here to visit because of the suspension of classes. They were not restrained at this moment. If there were no guardrails, they would have jumped in to catch frogs long ago. The ants came with their children, and a group of old men took out their cigarettes and went outside to smoke. Now even cigarettes are very scarce. How are you selling your frogs? Since we ran out of toilet water, carrion beetles have been flying in my house. If I'm not careful, they'll lay a nest of larvae. It's really frustrating. My fish tank has a nest of carrion beetles. If I had frogs earlier, this wouldn't have happened. Everyone was complaining, and it was obvious that they all knew each other. Nyomu even blinked at Jingshu. Jingshu's eyes lit up. The group of people in front of her had everything they needed at the moment, so it was easy for them to raise a few frogs, unlike the people in the community who couldn't even drink water. Nyomu had already given her a hint, so she should do her best. My frogs can withstand high temperatures and cold weather. They bear the pressure that they shouldn't have at this age. I serve them with good water and insects every day like I'm taking care of my grandchildren. Jingshu just started to sell her misery, and the ant interrupted, "Why don't you just say you want food or something else?" 3 bottles of mineral water for a little frog. Jingshu showed her big white teeth on her black face and stretched out 3 fingers. Nyomu opened her mouth slightly. This black-hearted person is really daring to ask for it. In business, the seller asks for a sky-high price and the buyer bargains until the boss feels pain. Only then can they feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Jingshu knows these ants too well. The frog is good, but it's a little expensive. You see, there are so many of us, give us a discount. I want 2 more. Give me a group purchase price, buy 1 get 1 free. If your frog is good, we will buy it next time. Nyomu opened her mouth again. This group of black-hearted people are really daring, just like her prodigal tigress. Jingshu looked painful and finally decided on a group purchase price, 2 bottles of water for each small frog, a frog-binding rope and container, after-sales service, and free replacement within 7 days, so that everyone was happy. Jingshu taught them how to adjust the rope and frog-raising techniques. The aunties added Jingshu on WeChat and threatened to promote her if she got better. Almost every family bought a small frog, and the aunties, who usually had noble temperaments, followed suit. They all left happily holding a glass jar with a frog rope several meters long. In this way, Jingshu transformed from an online anchorwoman into a frog seller. Jingshu was very satisfied when she saw the more than 100 bottles of mineral water that Nyomu had prepared for her. Jing's mother was afraid that Nyomu would think Jingshu was selling too expensive, so she deliberately scolded her, "You kid, those are. Can't you sell them cheaper? Don't you know that water is more scarce than food?" Jingshu retorted, I'm saving frogs. If I sell them cheaply, they won't cherish them. They will think they'll just buy them anyway since they're so cheap. Nyomu laughed and said, Jingshu is right. I was just thinking of buying some frogs from you for the research department to study how to increase frog breeding. All kinds of pesticides and insecticides have been used in the disaster-ridden farms and reservoirs. The only remaining reservoir in Wucheng cannot be polluted anymore, and the insecticides will run out one day. Nyomu hesitated and said, You all know what happened in Xinshi district yesterday. The higher-ups held an emergency meeting and decided to start mass production of mushrooms as soon as possible. They will provide the citizens with free experimental oyster mushrooms in half a month. The news will be released today. I hope the people will stop making trouble after they have something to eat and drink. Jingshu shuddered when she thought of the moldy oyster mushrooms. She really didn't want to touch them again in this world. I understand. I feel honored to be able to contribute. In the end, Nyomu asked Jingshu for 30 frogs, paid for 60 bottles of mineral water, and also ordered the next batch of frogs from her. Jingshu happily held the last 20 frogs and the whole truck of mineral water and went home. The end of the world has entered the first half of the year, and there will be more and more water shortages. She still underestimated the water consumption at home. The water truck also delivered 1 L of water per person per day, which was 0.5 L less than before. People in the community used to have limited water for cooking, but now they have to sip water 1 sip at a time. People are dying of thirst, not to mention those who used to grow mushrooms and vegetables at home. They are all wilted. As for washing pots and dishes, they used to wipe them with toilet paper, but now that food is in short supply, it is recommended that everyone use their tongue to wipe them clean. It is said that practicing the skill can make the person more agile, increase the pleasure of the partner, and enhance the feelings between husband and wife. Anyway, Jingshu doesn't understand why. They say that the matter of the heaven-shaking party was just a fuse, which lured countless people who were impatient and active. The next day, news came that hundreds of people suddenly rushed out of the large, friendly supermarket, but they broke into the supermarket and found that it was empty. It turned out that in order to prevent such things, the supermarket's food was transported quietly every day. But this incident also completely shocked the entire Wucheng, and they were terrified. There is no law, and the world is completely in chaos. Wangqiqi Building 13, at everyone, hundreds of people were killed or injured in the Yo House supermarket last night. Now all the big supermarkets in Wucheng are closed. Today, many more people blocked the road to rob things. It's very chaotic outside. If you can stay at home, don't go out. Wang Suihua sent a voice message. This group of damn people, now we can't even buy food. What should we do? Fat girl number 25, who has floral water or something? Another bag of rice in my house was eaten by carrion beetles. If this goes on, we won't even have any food left. Zhang Bingbing number 4, a new batch of carrion beetles flew out of the farm. Our house is full of these bugs. No matter how many we kill, they pop up again in the blink of an eye. Jingshu wanted to get rid of the frogs in her hands, so she sent a message, at everyone, I'm selling a batch of frogs that eat carrion beetles in exchange for tires, shock absorbers, engine oil, and other parts of energy vehicles. Jingshu then sent out the video of selling frogs today, telling everyone how to raise frogs and how they catch insects, and also included the spare parts and models that Jing's father said BYD Song needed. Now that car factories have stopped production and 4S stores have closed, it is really difficult to repair and maintain cars in the end times, and some necessary parts are very important. In a few years, these cars will really become scrap metal and their parts will be scrapped. When the energy car breaks down and needs any parts, Jingshu will have no place to cry. It is better to prepare more parts and tires early, maintain the car every year, and use them when migrating. 5 or 6 years after the end of the world, there are very few cars that can still be driven. In fact, Jingshu can completely remove the tires or steal some from the 4S store, but it is too troublesome to do it herself. The key is that she doesn't understand, and Jing's father, who knows, doesn't bother to do such things. It is better to sell a wave of frogs and collect them all easily, which is convenient, trouble-free, and time-saving. Young master, I have a baby number 13. I'll change. My family owns a BYD car, and we have all the parts. Wait for me to dismantle the 4 tires and other parts for you. After watching the video posted by Jingshu, many people sighed that frogs, which used to be everywhere, have become scarce. Fat girl number 25. Raising frogs is really popular recently, but there are too few of them. If you send them to the doctor, there will definitely be a bed. I'll dismantle all the parts of my Mini that you can use. Just tell me. I'll change it too. Count me in and pry away all the usable parts. This broken car is really like scrap metal. Carrion beetles seriously endanger people's normal lives. Compared with cars that have no oil to drive for half a year, everyone chooses to dismantle parts from the car to exchange for small frogs. Saving some water can keep the house free of carrion beetles, and there is no need to worry about food being wasted. Everyone is very active. Jing's father was in charge of the review, and soon all kinds of parts were collected and piled in front of Building 25. A group of people in tattered and embarrassed clothes were waiting with flashlights for Jingshu to hand out frogs. Master, I have a baby. This family had the most parts. We exchanged 3 frogs, and the others exchanged 1. The 15 little frogs were exchanged for several car parts and various tires and even tools. This was unimaginable before the end of the world. Jingyi was very puzzled. Are frogs so valuable now? Zhang Bingbing didn't care about the embarrassment and dirt on her body. She looked at the little frogs happily and asked casually, Jingshu, don't you lack water at home? How can you feed so many frogs? As soon as she asked this, the surroundings became quiet. Everyone looked at this girl who didn't look very dirty except for her black face, and her family was not dirty and looked very energetic. What does it have to do with you whether they lack water or not? If they didn't take care of us, how could we not exchange parts? Hurry home and stay, otherwise the frogs will die of heat. The fat girl took off her slippers and entered Building 25 with the little frogs. Everyone dispersed, and Jingshu just breathed a breath when her cell phone buzzed. Luxury car store number 5, at Shashu Villa District. If you need car parts, come to me. Our store has everything. I'll trade with you. Jingshu remembered this man, the one who blamed her for not dragging him to death, and who never gave ungrateful people a second chance. Sorry, I've finished the trade. Luxury car store. We still have a lot of motor oil and snow tires in our store. I'll take you to get them. Take as many as you want. Just give me more frogs. I don't steal. Besides, I don't need them. Luxury car store. Are you deliberately not trading with me? Yeah, I'm not so magnanimous as to deliberately trade things with someone who scolds me. Jingshu rolled her eyes. She was very vindictive. She still remembered what happened half a year ago. Luxury car dealer gritted his teeth in anger, and he got even angrier when he saw everyone in the group taking photos of themselves getting the frog. He started to do his old habits again and curse people in the input bar. You stinky bitch. Why don't you give me a replacement? You think having a frog is so great? I bought a watch last year, so Brother Tao should come and rob your villa again. Wang Xuemei and her family will suffer the same fate as you. You bitches won't give me anything. According to his previous habit, he would have deleted the message after typing it to ease his emotions, but this time he was so excited and so comfortable that he just pressed enter and sent it out. Fuck. Luxury car dealer knew he was going to get into trouble as soon as he saw it was sent out, so he quickly withdrew it. Just as his heart was pounding and he exhaled, someone announced his death. Wang Chichi number 13, at everyone, I just used my hand speed after being single for 30 years to take a screenshot of the post. Buy it now. 5. It turns out that the person who asked people to rob Wang Xuemei's house that day was this person. I wonder how they can be so sure that there is someone there when the occupancy rate of our community is so low. As expected of her hand speed, after being single for 30 years, Jingshu's post was withdrawn just after she finished reading it, and she didn't react, but Wang Qiqi took a screenshot. What happened next was interesting. The group immediately exploded, especially Wang Xuemei, who had just lost her husband and daughter. After learning the truth, she couldn't help crying and asked, "Why? Why did you ask others to rob our house? What have we done to let you down?" Many people in the group questioned and condemned. Jingshu didn't say anything. If half of the 6 people who came to rob that day had dared to come with kitchen knives, no one would have died. Is she qualified to question others now? But there is nothing wrong with doing so. If she didn't have the trump card of the magic cube space, she would not have been able to go out. Seeing that the secret of that day was leaked, the luxury car specialty store no longer pretended. Why do you say that? All my food has been eaten by bugs, and you all won't sell some food. If each of you gives me 1 pound of food, will I join that organization? Wang Xuemei, put away your hypocrisy. Selling a meal for 300 yuan is the same as giving alms to me. Don't you like to give alms? I'll take away all your food and see how you give alms. Also, you guys are convinced that Brother Tao likes your daughter. Why don't you just enjoy yourself? You deserve to die. It's the end of the world now, and the government is bragging about building an artificial sun to delay time. In fact, it has hidden the food in major granaries several months ago, and you are still stupid, huh? The man in the luxury car dealership was cursing happily, not knowing that Jingshu and Jing's father called Wang Qiqi to ask for his address, and the 3 of them came over without saying a word. Wang Qiqi was actually a little confused. Should we just call the police to arrest him? I'm afraid the police won't have time to deal with it. Jingshu said nothing with a cold face. For those who play tricks on the evil girl, she usually handles it herself. She hurriedly brought Jing's father, who looked serious, and the confused Wang Qiqi to room 602, building 5. Should we knock on the door or pry it open? Wang Qiqi asked weakly. Jing. She coldly took out the wire with a hook from her crotch, took the broken iron rod, and made a loud bang and pierced through the cat's eye. Wang Qiqi swallowed hard, his eyes widened, and gently covered his lower body, always feeling cold somewhere. Jing's father was frowning and thinking about how to get his daughter back, but he was shocked by his daughter's domineering way. After poking the cat's eye, Jingshu inserted the wire with a hook through the cat's eye in one go, and gently pulled the door handle to open the door from the inside. In the last 10 years of the apocalypse, it would be embarrassing to live without maxing out the skills of unlocking and climbing windows. Next year, the sea level will rise and the central area of Wuching will be flooded. If you don't max out the skill, you won't be able to grab the flooded supplies. Those who are quick will grab all kinds of supplies to exchange for food, and those who are slow can only drink red nematodes. In the previous life, Jingshu could only follow behind and eat red nematodes. There is a saying that eating poop can't catch up with the hot poop, which is about Jingshu in the previous life. Fortunately, Jingshu later learned a lot of skills in order to have a good meal. The poor student is absolutely awesome with motivation. Kicking the door open, Jingshu was the first to enter, followed by Jing's father. Wang Qiqi was a beat late and was hit on the forehead by the door that bounced back. Ouch! Wang Qiqi opened his mouth in pain but dared not make a sound. Finally, he yelled, "Go Etienne, let's see if you dare to talk nonsense this time." The dark house was filled with heat and the stench of feces and urine. Jingshu almost fainted from the stench. Jing's father turned on the flashlight and shone on the frightened Go Etienne, who was naked in his shorts and holding his mobile phone on the sofa. After not taking vitamins and nutrients for several consecutive months, and having been eaten up by corpse worms a few days ago, Go Etienne's eyes bulged like dead fish eyes, his cheeks were sunken, his beard was sloppy, and his body exuded a foul odor. This is also the living condition of most people now. How did you get in? Go Etienne never expected that this group of people would rush in directly. Are they devils? Did the loud noise just now directly knock the door open? But so what? They're going to do something big today. With him on the side to guide them, it won't take a few minutes to occupy the community. Can this group of people kill him today? If they can't kill him, they'll all be dead. Go Etienne thought bitterly. Jing's father had just rolled up his sleeves to teach this kid a lesson, but Wang Qiqi was stuck as soon as he said the word you. He opened his mouth wide. Because Jingshu kicked him directly, there was no accuracy. Go Etienne covered his head and Jingshu kicked him in the stomach, and covered his stomach, and kicked him below. Go Etienne didn't react at all, and was kicked hard. How strong is Jingshu? No one knows. Go Etienne only knew that the first kick was like being stepped on by an elephant. He was so painful that he couldn't speak and could only scream. Until Jingshu kicked two small soft places. Go Etienne seemed to hear the sound of something breaking, extending from the lower body to the kidneys. The piercing pain suffocated him, and he fainted directly. How much does it hurt? Dare you pretend? Jingshu kicked a few more times to make sure there was no reaction before stopping. It was so cool. Wang Qiqi opened his mouth wide and never closed it again, especially when he saw Go Etienne's distorted expression in pain just now. His teeth began to tremble. Could he be beaten to death? This was completely different from the script he imagined. Jing's father also shuddered. Only men know the pain of being kicked in the balls. Those who have not experienced it will not understand. It's okay, he's still alive. Jingshu tied Go Etienne's hands and feet together with the wire hooked to the door, making a trap knot. The more he struggled, the tighter it became. Unless you use pliers, you can't cut it open with a knife. Okay, call that and to deal with it together. Wang Xuemei came and cried and punched Go Etienne again to wake him up. However, in the eyes of Wang Qiqi and Jing'an, this is the way a woman should beat him. Jingshu's way is a bit, cough cough. As for how to deal with Go Etienne, Jingshu and Wang Xuemei agreed that such a scourge should not be allowed to live. Jing's father felt that such a person deserved death, but it was not worth it to go to jail for such a person. What Wang Qiqi was most worried about was, I'm afraid that if we let him go, he will find someone to take revenge on us, but we don't dare to do something like killing people. Jingshu smashed all the communication and electrical appliances, including computers, TVs, mobile phones, chargers, and power banks, and then wrapped the wires that bound Go Etienne's hands and feet around the wooden bars of the sofa. Finally, she stuffed all of Go Etienne's socks into his mouth and tied them up with tape. This way he can't find anyone or run away, or even call for help, unless he can run away with the sofa. Go Etienne looked at Jingshu angrily, making an unwilling woohoo sound. He bent his waist and crossed his legs. His hands and feet were tied together, and he couldn't even move. He hated this group of people in his heart. With his hands and feet tied together, and then tied to the sofa, Go Etienne couldn't even get up or run out of the house. He can't run away, and he can't eat or drink. Wang Qiqi silently mourned for Go Etienne for 3 seconds. This meant that Go Etienne would starve to death, die of thirst, or die of heat stroke. Some people in the early days of the end of the world couldn't kill people alive. Jingshu planned to sneak out at night when everyone in the family was asleep and then kill Go Tianyi with the punishment of sticking a new official. It means soaking paper with water and covering the person's face with pieces of paper, causing suffocation. Most people die after 5 pieces of paper. There are no injuries on the body. Wang Qiqi will think that it is heat or thirst and will not suspect her. Jing's father was a little uneasy along the way. Is it okay for you to do this? Will the police come to our house? Killing is against the law. There is no problem that can be solved without killing. Dad, if he doesn't die, he will find someone to rob us. Besides, the police don't have time to take care of us. There are so many robbers and murderers in the city that they can't catch them all. A small part of the armed police will be stationed at the artificial sun, a small part will guard the granary, and another part will protect various government offices and vegetable points. Jingshu couldn't help but think of her mentor Wu Yui's prediction. Wuqing also has 200,000 police officers. Even if this is a premeditated riot, there shouldn't be no police to be seen, right? Forget it, forget it. I can't figure this out. Jingshu shook her head. She, an ordinary person, couldn't understand the inside story. After returning home, she walked the chickens and dealt with the feces in the space. The 10 black pigs were almost mature. Jingshu had to deal with them as soon as possible. Previously, some unscrupulous farms secretly left poultry, which caused the carrion worms to multiply wildly and completely led to the extinction of poultry, except for a small number of poultry raised privately in the countryside and in constant temperature rooms. Therefore, live pigs are very scarce, even more scarce than food and water, and you may not be able to buy them even if you have money. Thinking about the whereabouts of the black pigs, Jingshu brought the fat chicken to the place where the 6 people died that day. The soil here was loose, and it sank in when touched lightly. Then countless carrion worm larvae emerged and ran back and forth on the corpses. It seemed that the inside of the corpses were full of holes made by carrion worms. The fat chickens had a delicious meal, and Jingshu brought some larvae for the frogs to eat. Jingshu estimated that these worms would be enough for the fat chickens to eat for a few days. When the family was happily having dinner in the evening, Jingshu's phone rang again. Jingshu glanced at it as usual. Wangshuame number 2, at Xiaoshu Villa District. It's your turn next. Are you ready?